I have been called to professional, overqualified, and even arrogant for simply walking into an interview with my head held high and shaking someone's hand. That is what it's like to walk into a corporate interview as a black man. I'm here. And in this video, we're going to talk about what it's like to walk into a corporate interview as a black man. As many of you guys know, the struggle is real, and I often discuss how we can tackle that struggle as men, particularly black men, when it comes to entering corporate America or just entering any type of space where there is not a lot of diversity. And specifically, I want to talk about how we can show up and be our best selves while maintaining professionalism. And oftentimes, that professionalism is misconstrued upon us as black men. So let's get right into this. The first thing I want to say is, if you watch my videos consistently, you know that we are all about personal development. And one of the things that we focus on is image. If you look at any of my videos, you will see that I'm always dressed to the nines. I take pride in my appearance. I believe that the way that you dress, the way that people will ultimately treat you. So that is something that we try to focus on every single day. It's really important that when you enter any space, you enter that space with confidence and with your head held high. But for black men, that is easier said than done, because when we do that, we are perceived as being arrogant, we are perceived as being a threat, and oftentimes we are perceived as being less qualified for the role that we are actually pursuing. This happened to me during a recent interview. I walked into an interview and I had a suit on. I looked presentable. I shook the individual's hand who was doing the hiring. And at the end of the interview, she actually told me that I came across as too professional. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a compliment. She said that I came across as too professional. But when you really understand the context of the conversation, you would understand that what she meant by that was that I was overly polished. I didn't look like the other individuals who had come in before me, and so because of that, she felt as though I was overqualified for the role. I'll tell you more about that in just a second. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. When you walk into a room, you want to exude confidence. You want to exude professionalism. You want to be mindful of the way that you're speaking, the way that you're presenting yourself. But sometimes when you do that as a black man, you are viewed as being a threat. And oftentimes, what happens is that we aren't given the opportunities that we deserve. We are not given the opportunities that other people are given simply because of the way that we present ourselves. So how do we tackle this issue? How do we go into these spaces and still maintain our professionalism without being viewed as arrogant, without being viewed as a threat? Let me tell you a little bit more about the situation that I described earlier so that you can see exactly what I mean. I was applying for a role that was a senior level role. It was a director of marketing role. And I had over 20 years of marketing experience. Now, when I say marketing experience, I'm talking about traditional marketing, digital marketing, branding, public relations, marketing research. I've worked in marketing in a variety of different capacities, and so I thought I was extremely qualified for the role. I walked into the interview, I shook the individual's hand, I smiled, I exuded confidence. I talked about the things that I could bring to the table. And then at the end of the interview, she says to me, "You seem like a nice guy. You seem like you know what you're talking about, but I don't think you're a good fit for the role." Now, when she said that, I pressed her further and I asked her why. And that's when she said that I came across as too professional, and she explained to me that they were looking for somebody who was more junior, somebody who they could mold into the role, opposed to somebody who already knew what they were doing. And so because of that, I wasn't selected to move forward in the process. Now, on the surface, I was very angry because I felt as though I was being penalized for having experience. I was being penalized for knowing what I'm talking about. And I was being penalized for being confident. All of those things that we retold as black men that we need to do in order to be successful. I was being penalized for doing those things. So, how do we tackle this issue? The first thing that I want to say is that we need to understand that this is a real issue. We need to understand that, when we walk into a space, we are judged based on our appearance. We are judged based on the color of our skin. And we are judged based on the way that we present ourselves. So, we need to be mindful of that. We need to understand that, when we walk into a room, we are making a statement before we even say a word. The second thing I want to say is that we need to understand that there are certain spaces that are not created for us. There are certain spaces where we will never be good enough. No matter how hard we try, no matter how much work we put in, no matter how talented we are, we will never be good enough, and we need to understand that that is okay. We are not called to go into every space. We are not called to go after every opportunity. There are some opportunities out there that simply not meant for us. And so, we need to be discerning when we are deciding whether or not to pursue certain opportunities. Third, I want to say that we need to have thick skin. We need to be able to hear things and not allow them to stick. When people say things to us, when people do things to us, we need to be able to shake it off. We cannot allow the opinions of others to dictate our self-worth. We need to understand that we are valuable, we are worthy, and we are deserving of success regardless of what anybody else thinks. Fourth, I want to say that we need to continue to show up authentically. We need to continue to show up as our best selves. Just because people don't see value in us does not mean that we should stop being valuable. Just because people don't think that we are good enough does not mean that we should lower our standards. We need to continue to show up authentically and allow our talent and our abilities to speak for themselves. Finally, I want to say that we need to continue to push for diversity and inclusion. We need to continue to push for more opportunities for Black men in corporate America and in other spaces. We need to continue to push for a more equitable and just world. When we walk into a room, we should not have to worry about being penalized for walking into that room. We should not have to worry about being judged for our appearance. We should not have to worry about being stereotyped or being penalized for being Black. Those are the things that I wanted to share with you today. This is a very difficult topic, and it's a topic that needs to be discussed. It's a topic that needs to be talked about more often, and it's a topic that needs to be addressed. We need to do better as a society. We need to do better when it comes to diversity and inclusion. We need to do better when it comes to creating opportunities for Black men and creating a more equitable and just world. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave me a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe. And until next time, I'm here encouraging you to live your best life.